Hello, this is Malcolm Limited back for another video. Now, if you're asking, what is it 2020 and not TNO, I'll answer. I am playing Russian TFR plus TF. Oh, TF, the Fire Rises and the Fire Redux. Mostly because I did a playthrough of it. I really like playing the Medvedev path in Russia as the Russian TFR. Mostly because I'm still waiting for that update for the US. Should be coming anytime soon, but still. So I thought, why not make a sort of a second series whilst the TNO one is going on with TFR because it's the Fire Rises and the Fire Redux. Playing as Medvedev's Russia, hopefully getting back multiple world. I did change it so that what's his name? Gunfellinger's doesn't take over Europe, so if I manage to save Britain, I can, keep it. God save the Queen. Anyway. Why add Redux to Rises, you may be asking? Well, simple. There's extra events and I like reading them. And I want to read them to someone, so I'll read them to you instead. Anyway, let's start up, then I'll put my timer up, and then we're off to the races. Self-propelled anti-air, what the hell? You're a tank, aren't you? Yeah. No, for the painful part, trying to find what it means by multi-roles. Okay. Not you. I know what it looks like, because it's a sort of telegram symbol but white. Not you. Here. Like you and Alexander Dvornikov, which is under Valery Gerasimov. Hoi4 under Gdeni Zedko. Hoi4 under Andrei Mordovichev. I hope I said that right. Oh, forgot about you. That's all of you under Unispec Yevkarov. So send a bunch of things to the government of Libya, or the House of Representatives of the State of Libya, against the Government of National Cause for the State of Libya. Fun fact, the Gaddafis are surprisingly rare to get. Most times I get Kaftar, and then his son. Although sometimes I got an even rarer one for the State of Libya, where I got Marxist-Leninist Libya. Weirdest thing I saw. I have a picture of it. I'll probably put it in posts. I got it. Yeah. There we go. And send you to Tobruk, lads. Wrangle the oligarchs and use conscripts for the railroads. I'll read through these in the first event, and then I will claim us a Dunus. Probably you could read these. Oh well. Oligarchs are children of the dashing 90s, when state probably passed into private hands. The Russian economy was in chaos, thanks to privatization, political connections, and corruption. But they were able to amass huge fortunes and build real business empires. In Putin, they retain their influence, adapting to the new reality. Some joined state projects, while others used their capital to further enrich themselves through commodity monopolies. The Russian economy is a complex system, considering it of many industries and sectors. Since the early 2000s, the state has been actively using state corporations and other governments as a mechanisms to manage the economy. At the same time, private initiates stuff like that also play an important role in the businesses generally operating freely. While oligarchs have stopped direct proceeds in the country, they will have influence in the economy and will help us, although not without benefits for themselves. Our choices depend on economic quality. Utilize the church authority. So this is the State Duma, with the 4 major parties as of 2020. There is a 5th one going to be added when it happens. The current ones are United Russia, or Russian name. I should actually get the Russian name out here. Damn it. Sorry. United Russia. The All Russian Political Party United Russia, that's its full name. What the hell? Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. I'll just use Google Translate. I know it's not a perfect system, but hey. Oh, damn. Yeah. All Russian political party United Russia. The All Russian Political Party, the United Russia, or Veserovskaya Politicheskaya Partiya Yedinaya Rossiya. Looks accurate. The other parties are the Communist Party of the Russian Federation, which I have to Google Translate to get the Russian translation of, because I'm a crazy person like that. Chemcom. The Kommunistическая партия Российской Федерации. The next is the Just Russia, later Just Russia. Party, or this one actually has its pronunciation. Spravdilvia. Spravedlivia Rossiya, the SR. It later merges with For Truth, which I actually do know this Russian name without being looked up. It's Zapravdu. And finally, for now, is the Liberal Democratic Party of Russia, which I have to look up the name for. Good God forbid. Okay. The Demokratskaya Partiya Rossii. There's also the chairman of the State Duma. The leading of the State Duma is Vyacheslav Volodin, the leader of the faction leader within the State Duma for United Russia is Sergei Nevrov. For the Communist Party of the Russian Federation's leader in the Duma, it's Gennady Zyuganov. For a Just Russia, in the state leader in the State Duma is Sergei Mironov, and the Liberal Democratic Party of Russia's leader in the Duma is Vladimir Wolfovich Zhirinovsky. That's because it goes by Vladimir Wolfovich. And finally, before I start the timer, we'll talk about the first focus we'll have to do: a Russian dream. A country encompassing 1/8 of the world. One cannot refuse, but just one that refuses not just to be a footnote in history, with territory and people outside it that yearn to return. One that refuses Western hegemony and stands for the multipolar world order that the past century has not been kind to us. It also gave us some of our most glorious moments, and under the Russian soul it extinguished. We will continue to trek our own path. I didn't know the Queen of Denmark was one of the leaders. The president plays a lot, I don't know a lot. Okay. I've got a good strategy, trust. I do cheat a lot, but this strategy does work. I have seen it, I have tested it without cheating, it does work. Alright, deal with distance missing toad and artillery. And Spagum. I found Spagum 4 here. There you go. Alexa, set time for 1 hour.
1 hour, starting now.
1 hour special starter. You gotta miss those. Ruski Mir. I think that literally just means Russian dream. Yeah, extra check. No, Russian world, sorry. It has been 3 decades since the Soviet Union fell, and the Russian state has slowly worked to rebuild itself from the chaos of the 1990s. Under the leadership of Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, our country has regained some of its international standing, though we still are far from foreign prestige. Russia faces opposition from the so-called civilized Western world, who criticize us as backward and despotic. While preaching liberty and freedom, in reality they merely seek to divide and conquer. We stand in opposition to them as proponents of a new geopolitical outlook, multipolarity, meaning multiple worlds. The world should not be ruled by one guiding force, but several, so one can choose which one they align with and go to there. And it also keeps competition up, so that I'm not into geopolitics. I don't know that hard stuff, but it's something around that. I think it goes in depth in later bits, but it just means the rule of multiple rulers, multiple superpowers, if you will. So Russia has its influence in Eastern Europe and Eurasia, Central Asia. China has it in North Korea and South Asia. India has it in Pakistan region. Iran has it in Arabia, or at least the northern half. Saudi has it in the southern half. Egypt, the Nile, Ethiopia, East Africa. Each region has its regional ruler, and they battle for dominance within their region while also expanding others, keeping it while also being in some ways united together so they don't actively nuke each other. Think the Cold War, but with multiple sides, and functionally it's sort of like that. I mean, there are multiple sides, but still. Currently, the United States is looking elsewhere abroad, and internally the center of Russophobia is now shifting it towards Europe, as their globalist elite wish to use Ukraine as a spearhead against us, now making conflict inevitable, for which we must prepare for. We are working to fight for our sovereignty and the way of life against the golden building colonialists and their attempts to destroy us. Attempt to destroy all those who resist them. We will continue to support anti-globalist forces through continuing to send aid into the Middle East and Africa, who think alike. In this increasingly unstable and angry world, we might just get what we want, or lose everything. Our mighty maze of Khrushcheviks may harbor many people with diverse views, but all patriots can share a common thought. Russia must survive. And here comes the major thing, the Russian House of Cards. It will appear here shortly. To the Westerners, the Russian political system seems like a riddle, while in reality it's nothing out of the ordinary, save for a few national characteristics. The politics seems divided amongst the three biggest parties: the Communist Party of the Russian Federation. While the USSR fell 30 years ago, many Russians still cozy socialist ideas and nostalgia, coupled with oligarchic inequality that caused a great deal of resentment. The Communists stand as Russia's second largest party. United Russia, a decades-long conservative party that held a majority in the Duma and de facto party of the president, because technically Vladimir Putin is an independent, and it has no party affiliates. The UR, or the EP technically, stands for new outlooks on Russia beyond past formations. The Liberal Democratic Party of Russia, in spite of its name, is a nationally populist party led by popular showmen. If communists want to create a new Soviet Union, the LDPR will strive for a new second Russian Empire. All parties do not agree on virtually anything, only the general ideas of restoring Russian greatness. They would have eternally scrapped and debated if not for one man, Vladimir Putin, the unifier, he stands above all, mastering their civic cooperation. As long as he's at the helm, they will continue to play by his rules. The pendulum swings steadily. There's also the off-system opposition. In the country, there is a layer of people who do not appreciate the usual politics of our country, but on the contrary try to organize their own as a counterbalance to ones. Historically in Russia, the layers of people is liberal, although there are many of many other colors in it. The liberal agenda is absolutely dominant, although they do not, to a large extent, threaten the current state systems of their existence, and strengthening can have negative consequences for our country if it is they who are being used by the West to try and derail Russia from its path and to obstruct the realization of our common dream in a possible way. The administration should monitor the growth of the liberal opposition and try to curtail or reduce its strength in any possible way so that negative effects become weaker. For West useful idiots. So we got the Russian House of Cards. We got the all-Russian political party United Russia. United Russia is a dominant political force in the country, known for close ties with the government. President Putin founded in 2001. The party had conservative nationalist policies, emphasized stability, national unity, and economic development. United Russia has been criticized for its tight control over political power and the allegations of electoral fraud, but it remains the ruling party in Russia, holding a majority in the State Duma and controlling many regional governments. Under Medvedev's leadership, United Russia continues to promote its platform of traditional values, strong leadership, and a focus on strengthening Russian positions on the global stage. Despite some internal divisions and challenges, the party has managed to dominance in Russian politics, with Medvedev playing a key role in shaping policies and strategies. The Communist Party of the Russian Federation is a prominent leftist political party in Russia, advocating for the socialist policies, workers' rights, and protection of social welfare programs. Founded in 1993 as a successor to the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, the CPRF. What actually would it be? Sounds like the KPRF, or King K instead, has maintained a significant presence in Russia politics, particularly as opposition ruling to the United Russia Party. Gennady Zyuganov has been the leader of the CPRF, the KPRF, since its inception, and is known for his staunch commitment to communist ideology and criticism of capitalist reforms. In Russia, Zyuganov has run for president multiple times, positioning himself as a defender of working class and a critic of the current government's economic policies. Despite facing challenges, his economic policy, despite many challenges of opposition figures, Zyuganov remains a key figure within the Communist Party of the Russian Federation, the KPRF, and both advocate for social principles and Russian policy. The Liberal Democratic Party of Russia, the LDPR, what I can do? And name attack. Right. It's the exact same, so no one cares. LDP is the Liberal Democratic Party of Russia, the nationalist party in Russia, known for its populist and controversial positions. Founded in 1991 by Vladimir Zhirinovsky, he originally based from the Liberal Democratic Liberal Democratic Party of the Soviet Union. The Liberal Democratic Party combines elements of liberalism, nationalism, advocating for the stronger centralization of government, protection of Russian interests, and conservative social values. The Vladimir Zhirinovsky, a longtime leader of the LDPR, is a flamboyant and outspoken figure in the Russian politics. Known for his provocative statements and theatrical role, Zhirinovsky has been a prominent voice in the Russian political landscape since the 1990s. Despite his controversial rhetoric, Zhirinovsky has garnered support for his strongest stance on national sovereignty and anti-Western sentiment. Under Zhirinovsky's leadership, the LDPR has maintained a presence in Russian parliament and has often aligned itself with the ruling parties. These are the key issues, while critics have accused the LDPR for being a controlled opposition party. Zhirinovsky's chairman, charismatic leadership, and national platform continues to attract loyal followers among segments of the Russian population. Adjust Russia. Adjust Russia is a social democratic party. Wait, what is its full name? No. Oh, it sometimes does go by the title Socialist Party Adjust Russia. Socialistskaya Partia Spravedlivaya Rossii, something like that. Or just CP. Is a social democratic party. Russia activates social welfare and state policies of the mixed economy. The party is led by Sergei Mironov, a veteran politician known for his moderate and pragmatic approach to government. Mironov is a former Speaker of the Russian Federation, has been a key figure in the Russian politics for many years. Under his leadership, Adjust Russia has positioned itself as a voice for the working class and a prominent progressive voice. There are rumors of possible further mergings between Adjust Russia and two lesser parties. Is for true, or Zapravdu, that actually is true, they actually did that, and to be Patriots of Russia. I don't know that one. Prospects of merger is lesser with less parties, presents an opportunity for Adjust Russia to broaden space of support and appeal to a wider range of voters. I form a strategic alliance with other parties. These share similar views. The goal is Adjust Russia would enhance its electoral prospects and potentially gain more seats in the Duma. This collaborative approach can also help party consolidate its resources and streamline its messaging, such a more cohesive platform and electorate. The Liberal Opposition. The Liberal Opposition is a non-systemic political force in Russia advocating for radical reforms for free elections and freedom with press. The liberal non-system opposition includes parties that are excluded, functionally banned, from the political system because they lack representation in government structures and interaction. And the ruling group like Russia for the Future and Parnas, they use mostly unconventional methods of political struggle and limited resources and express, especially active in social networks. The opposition does not have an official leader, but recently Alexei Navalny is a very suitable for the role of such a candidate, being the most prominent figure in the movement. He founded the Anti-Corruption Foundation, which conducts journalistic investigations and that allegedly exposes corruption schemes the highest parties of the Russian government. That, thanks to his investigations, Alexei Navalny managed to gain a large audience in which he organized large rallies against corruption and collect donations to continue a non-system struggle against the government. Ever since Vladimir Putin's ascension to power, Russian politics became a multi-layered mechanism with many deterrences, deals, and personal connections. Some call with the towers of the Kremlin. However, despite the seemingly unified facade, hides an opportunity to political groups extend their influence and loopholes to undermine this mechanism. The President's administration, of course, will do its best to curtail such acts as self-will. We are currently supporting the presidential administration. Support for the All-Russian political party United Russia is 46%, KPRF is 23%, LDPR is 20%, CP is 9%, and Liberal is 21%. Let's continue. I do not want the AI to office to cheat. Welcome. So what? Gennady Andreevich Zyuganov, in a stern suit with a poly badge, stood beneath the portrait of Lenin and Stalin, and as if history itself was looking down at him. From the walls, front, outside, hammered against the window, but inside the local community center, it was hot from the breath of hundreds of people. The local community center, workers in worn jackets, pensioners with medals on their laplets, younger people with fire of unspoken question in their eye. Comrades, Zyuganov began, gesturing for attention. You ask me, where is the Russian going? And I will answer, to the abyss. To the very abyss they have been pushing her towards for decades. He sharply raised a finger as if piercing an invisible shot. In the 5 years, the Soviet power in 5 years, the Soviet power defeated fascism. And what have about the current one? Sold our country for oil pennies. $200 billion for reserves. For whom? Zyuganov continued, sweeping his hands across the hall. For oligarchs. We could have created 10 million jobs with that money. But no, it's better to double the number of billionaires. They starve the people while building yachts for themselves. They don't want to raise taxes for the rich. Billionaires pay 13%, the same as a janitor. This is no justice, it's mockery. In the USSR, technically CCCP, but vodka filled the budget. But now it is the mafia. We are cutting down forests like barbarians, exporting them for next to nothing. Suddenly he softened his tone, as if addressing each person individually. Comrades, we offer a path, not backwards but forwards, to socialism, with science, education, factories. We will not allow Russia to turn into a raw material appareil. With the red banner, we strike the greedy snouts. Troops have got to Libya. Sergei Shoigu. Go get him, lad. The oligarchs rush the civilian or military investment in certified region. You'll get this a lot. I will not read all of them out. This one was a civilian factory in Chuvashia. Yeah. A weird one where it kept on just asking me to put random stuff in the Caucasian mountains. What the hell? Putin's speech on the amendments to the Constitution. It is highly anticipated speech. Russian President Vladimir Putin addresses the nation, outlining a series of pro-constitutional amendments and announcing the start of the preparation for nationwide referendums that announced that amendments, if approved, would mark a significant change for the Russian political landscape and government structure. During his speech, President Putin emphasized the importance of updating the country's constitution to reflect the evolving needs and aspirations of the civilians. He highlighted the proposed amendments aimed to strengthen democratic institutions, protect individual rights and ensure continued stability in Russia. Let the people decide. Sometimes these events have full things to them. Not about one, not about, but this one definitely does. Vladimir Putin has decided that it is time to put on an end to external interference in his country by one set of the steps. So doing this is part of the country amendment that will help strengthen our sovereignty efforts. Despite those noble intentions, there are many people in Russia who see it as autocratic centralization and a loophole for Putin to rule as long as the majority pleases. Majority will vote yes no matter if we outcry, but backlash if our support is not modest enough would be severe. So just get United Russia to 50 and we'll be golden. Russia for Russians. Vladimir Volkovich, in his signature bright jacket, stood tall on a small platform right in the middle of a snowy square in the front of a factory. The frosty air bit a cheek, but the crowd before the stage pressed closer together, intently listening to the voice. Workers of the oil-stained jackets, stern pensioners, even students with curiosity in their eyes were all watching his tireless politician whose speeches were always sharp yet sincere and resonant with all people. Working people, his voice boomed across the square. You are not standing in the cold for nothing, not for nothing, because we will be talking about how to save Russia from the jackals tearing it apart. His sweeping gestures, he encompassed spaces around it as if racing the whole world. Look around you. What do you see? Not a country, but a thoroughfare. Guests are swarming in from the south, east, and west, like cockroaches creeping in every crack, bringing their pseudo-culture, their Sharia law, and what about our authorities? They just nod and smile. Be tolerant. It's tolerance. Tolerance is festering rude. We are Russians. We have our own faith, our own history, our own heroes. Prince Vladimir Zhukov. They laid down their lives for us, and now we are adopting European values. Enough of it bootlicking. Those who hate us, they want Russia to croak. They want our children to forget their mothers' tongue. They want factories like Azovstal to be torn down by Chinese for scrap. Pride taking officials was a corrupt judge, a guest who harasses a Russian woman. As long as we tolerate them, Russia will remain ill. But Russia is not a garbage dump. If you don't like it, goodbye. Suitcase train station, Sheremetyevo. We are the masters here. Get that through your head once and for all. Again, new government. Replacing Dmitry Medvedev and Maxim Oroshenkin with Michael Bushutin and Mikhail Reshetnikov. Yesterday, the Russian Federation government announced its decision to resign after announcement of President's address to the Federal Assembly. In particular, it talked on introducing the amendments to the Constitution, which would give the Duma the right to approve candidates of the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and Minister. Russian President Vladimir Putin proposed Mikhail Mushkin as head of the Federal Tax Reserve Service, and today he has confirmed his new position. Prime Minister Medvedev has offered the newly created position of Deputy Chairman of the Security Council. Okay. Get to work, lads. Dmitry Anatolievich Medvedev His sharp suit and thin-rimmed glasses sat at the head of a long security counter table, where the cold light from the chandelier emphasized the marble sheen of the surface. The dimness of the hall seemed to focus attention on his calm, methodical voice, reminiscing of a lecture in an auditorium. Colleagues, Mervike began. Democracy is not a museum piece. It is a living organism requiring constant diagnosis. Today we are discussing not only its ability but also the instruments of protection. After all, even the most perfect system is vulnerable for those who mask severe activities with balanced intentions. An official from the Ministry of Justice nearly shuffled the paper and read on a report: 127 NGOs with foreign funding, 43 media outlets, 9 human rights organizations. This is not censorship. Medvedev raised his hand, preempting objections. How about sovereignty? When NGOs receive instructions from abroad, promote alien norms under the guise of enlightenment, this is a dialogue of cultures. This is not a dialogue of cultures. They operate to the template, discrediting traditions, inciting discord, introducing foreigners to our task is not prohibition, it's systematic immunity. I propose not to tighten the law, but to create an alternative. Let every young blogger, every foundation know that the state is ready to support projects working for the country, grant educational programs, access to media, but only for those who are with us, not against us. Democracy does not tolerate stagnation. Either we improve it, or it will become a trophy for those who want to see Russian weakened. Alright, let's do this. First focus. Technically. Second, but first focus we have to choose. Fight against the right. In the 2010s, our government had cracked down on national sentiments, primarily on anti-immigration and anti-migrant and xenophobic comments. Yet, the threat still remains, even the seams flourish. We cannot forget how many of our neo-fascists flocked to the Ukrainian side. There were quite a few, but not that many, to fight the Bolshevik presidency and the bootlickers. And while we also have nationalists who support our cause, it is best to make sure they cannot propagandize their ideology. Privyet. The old Russian proverb that goes like, the dog barks as the caravan moves, but what if the dog was moving with the caravan at the same time? This is what Russia's most vocal critic Alexei Anatolievich Navalny has been doing for the past couple of years, and without any stop whatsoever. Whatever the Kremlin is doing, he is there to report on it. Whatever developments happen in Russia, political sphere, the FBK, the Anti-Corruption Forum, never misses an opportunity to strike back. The government, despite massive attacks on the Kremlin, the Anti-Corruption Foundation is still working, still doing its work and being an integral part of the Russian opposition in its fight against Putin's government. Following the government's adjustments and Mishchin's new role as Prime Minister of the Anti-Corruption Foundation has released a new documentary compiled of drone footage and on-the-ground investigation by Navalny himself about Mishchin's assets and luxurious properties, claiming that political connections have allowed Mishchin's family to get unjustifiable wealth and in the past have reported official incomes. While some people might think that this video considered nothing but political slander in a time of unnecessary. Many suspect that it is also to serve a breakdown of an alleged myth of a quiet and efficient technocrat like Mushkin, which has been floating around under the radar and not have been seen in the public in Russia actively political landscape. Following the release of the investigation, Mushkin's former brother-in-law filed a lawsuit against the FBK in a Moscow court, fined Navalny 350,000 rubles for defamation. But despite the constant attacks directed by the FBK and Navalny himself, it looks like his investigation in political will not stop. In fact, with the current political climate and unprecedented economic situation, it's only logical for him to increase his outreach in our society and keep fighting against the Putin's government by utilizing whatever methods he has at disposal. Whatever the future holds, it seems the political wars of the last decade between the opposition and Putin's government is far from over. In fact, they're just beginning to enter a higher stage. Eta Navalny. Like for Navalny or something like that. Agent 1, Yevgeny Shishkin, that looked very much like a guy from American Psycho, go and do stuff in Germany. COVID. I'm not gonna read every single one of these. And some riots in Argentina. Quite a lot of them. Most of them aren't particularly important. Extremist. The young defendant sat in the courtroom awaiting the verdict. The dread he had already spent a month under arrest, and now the moment of truth has arrived. Fear made the blood pound in his vest so loudly it drowned out the judge's words. Creation of an extremist group. VK incited the violence against the Russian-speaking population. Article 282. For indicating hatred towards Russians. The group's goal was the annihilation, I think that's what it means, or something like that. Muslims, Article 282, for inciting hatred against Muslims, to taking into account the defendant's age and the time of offense, the status limitation, he is sentenced to probation. The sentenced man walked out of the courtroom on trembling hands, overwhelmed by the realization just a few days ago he wanted to resume the activity of his group. Only the sudden appearance of the police with a warrant had prevented it. Had the police been a day later, he would have been posted new materials, and then he would have had no grounds for lenient sentence. My police protect me. But against the left presents the main danger to our citizens. Currently, with support from Navalny during the previous local elections, sovereign citizens of the USSR, a cult anti-establishment rhetoric, since the nationalists have already been cracked down on, the leftists should follow suit if it is only fair. That's actually a real group. They're currently banned in Russia, most because of their belief that the USSR is still around. Just being, if you're German, think of them like right burgers. Those people believe the German Empire is still a thing and the new government is a scam. First COVID case from Russia. The first coronavirus case has been reported in the city of Russia returning from a trip to China. While the number of infected is currently low, we must not neglect the issue lest it gets far out of control. This is our problem now. The Last Marshal. On the 25th of February, the last Marshal of the Soviet Union, Dmitry Yazov, passed away around the age of 95. This was reported on Tuesday by the Ministry of Defense for the Russian Federation. Dmitry Yazov, born on the 8th of November 1924 in the village of Yazovo, Omsk Oblast, 1942, graduated from Moscow Infantry School, named after the Supreme Soviet of the Russian Federative Socialist Republic, and with the rank of lieutenant, he went to the front. A veteran of the Hoi4 War, Yazov was wounded twice. He's in battle. After the war, he continued military graduating honors from the MV Cruz Military Academy and the Military of General Staff. He held a key position in the Soviet Army, and in 1987 he was appointed Minister of Defense for the USSR. He became the last person to receive the rank of Marshal of the Soviet Union in 1990. He named his closest compatriot. He named is closely associated with the events of the August coup of 1991, and when he supported the State Committee on the State of Emergency, the GKCHP, which led to his arrest and the coup failed. However, in 1994 he was granted amnesty. After the collapse of the USSR, Yazov remained an active participant in the veterans movement at public events related to the history of the Great British War. His death marks the end of an era. The last living Marshal of the USSR. Formal ceremonies for each matter were held with military honors, and the date and place of his burial will be announced later. He has endured many great trials. Yes, very funny. To anyone who gets that, it's a sort of a TNO reference. The fisherman on the early calm morning, Yazya, this guy will be important, is one of the many people you see in the events that TFR&TFRedux adds. Very interesting guy. Sat gloomily staring at the fishing float. His apartment after it was on a renovation. He and his sister had to stay with relatives. Naturally, Vazia ended up with his factory worker uncle, who of course seized the chance to drag him fishing at 4 in the morning to make a man out of him by catching bream. Vasily, and this at the time when the country was undergoing change, when every opposition voice mattered, as Navalny said frankly, Vazia forgot the quote, probably because fishing was already exerting its nefarious influence on the opportunist mind, and his iPhone, with quotes, was confiscated and locked in the car to build patience. Vazia, on the other hand, he was safe from the authorities here, who believed a guy fishing to be an oppositionist. His in the Robert place, no one could even find him, no one could arrest him or beat him. Wake up, idiot, it's biting! Vazia snapped awake with a slap to the face, casting a scornful look from the repressed victim of his relative. Turned his attention to the rod which some untoward creature was trying to pull away, tugging the line which the young man frowned and engaged in struggle. He might not have saved free speech from the authorities, but he'd be damned well to save his uncle's rod. One way or another, he caught that bream. Also, the Taliban in America make peace. Sergei Balakotsev, Agent 2. Go to Paris. Do stuff there. It's another method there. Or past the skyrocket. Yeah, fuck you too. I think that's what I said. the death of Eduard Limonov. Today, the funeral was held for the eccentric best-selling writer, political activist, and leader Eduard Limonov, or E.V. Limonov, who passed away at the age of 77 from serious complications during surgery. Technically, he died from COVID, but still. In the 90s, Limonov became one of the main opposition figureheads against the US's government, together with Dugin and Letov, founded the National Bolshevik Party, whose policies and practices later shaped the modern-day readings of Marxist Bolshevism in Russia. After Putin took over social stimulation and de-radicalization, helped by Limonov's imprisonment on charges of weapons possession and his creation of a legal armed group to take over northern Kazakhstan, what the hell, the MBP's popularity began to dwindle until in 2007 the party's names and symbols were banned by authorities. Only a few years later, however, Limonov would give a rebranding of the party under a new title, The Other Russia, named after one of Limonov's manifestos. Aging couples with health problems made Limonov turn away from inner party matters, giving leadership to younger patriots, remaining public space. He said speakers for the party became various protests, events, and meetings. He was among the most supportive of the Donbass rebellion in 2014, rallying the party and participated in the front lines. Also, the other party of E.V. Limonov, the full name, the Other Russia of E.V. Limonov, has a paramilitary branch that is currently fighting for the Donetsk Republic. I think it's still around to this day. The Inter Brigades. Look him up. He was buried in Troyevsk-Rossii Cemetery, was coffin and walked with the old banner of the MVP flag. Many of the supporters attended, giving one last respect to their gramps, take the oath near the grave that they would fight to bring his vision into reality. Memento Mori. Remember death. Something like that. Memento Mortis is remember death. This is another way of saying that. As a person who is doing Latin for fun, I think I know. Seizure. When the police knocked on the door, Oleg calmly opened it, feeling only the natural unease of anyone whose home is visited by law enforcement. Today, it was a day someone had remembered his years-old post, and the authorities had decided to check how opportunist his hard drive really was. When the entering police officers announced their intentions, Oleg simply stepped aside, not hindering the officers, and they removed his equipment. After all, his computer didn't contain any incriminating evidence. The only evidence of his leftist views, his innocent hobbies, and what he was working on included a visual novel. Oleg smirked and read it. The police were bound to be surprised when they got to some of his installations. In any case, he wasn't a hypocrite, and therefore he had no fear of looking at police officers in the eye when they returned the machine. On the contrary, he was very eager to see their actions. The pendulum swings to the right. Subvert LDPR influence. LDPR needs to be pressured as it is the mainstream party of the latest bureau in Russia. You know the drill. Chop chop. The end of the Ataman. Morning on the Laskaya village in Rostov region was not good despite the pleasant summer. Calm, broken only by the sounds of construction machinery. Onlookers, passers-by, and visitors to the Yelatsky Cossack Memorial and Museum Complex crowded around one of the attractions inside the complex. There was a roar of crowd. Locals were whispering and discussing what was happening. Someone was grudgingly interrogating one of the operators of the construction vehicle. The statue of Cossack Ataman, by which they mean Pyotr Nikolaievich Krasnov, apparently was being demolished. So was the plaque that read, "To the Don Ataman, General Officer, Cossack and Cossacks who laid down their bellies for faith and fatherland," was already dismantled, and soon the monument was dismantled absolutely casually. Some of the visitors greeted this in silence. Most watched For the difference, a few people shouted and abused the car operator. For some time, the situation became rather scandalous. Reason for public discussion. The position was expressed by that the situation was a manifestation of the government's disregard for historical heritage of our media and propaganda citizens. The situation referred to discussion of local government, which has made a connection with the inadmirable glorification of collaborators and accomplices of Nazism. Foreigners, pigs do not deserve to be remembered. Improve Crimean infrastructure. Damn, that was loud. The Battle of Jujubuga. This is not an actual battle, to my knowledge. We Cossacks were people used to hardship. We served the faith truth like our godfathers told us, but the day in Jujubuga, still ashamed to remember it, but it went like this. They called us up, about 10 of us, to help with the police to haul some vagrant out of Scotchy. Said that they were ruining the resort's image. Okay, we figured, routine stuff. Escort a bus, keep order, who knows, these bombs would turn out to be so damn feisty. Well, in Jujubuga, everything went sideways. We pulled over, the driver got out to check the engine, or whatever, and then they burst out like devils with a jack-in-the-box, rushed for a door. We jumped on to stop them. I swung my Nagaita, whipped, yelling, "Halt! Back!" But they just started roaring. They threw us at us. One man covered in dirt with a red beard grabbed me by the arm and gave him a whack with my Nagaita. But he, like some berserker, wouldn't let go. Eyes burning, teeth clenching, growling. I stumbled back, and he punched me in the gut and doubled me right over. I heard the brothers yelling and nearly cussing. I glanced around, and they were all running. Everyone has been on the bus, like pack of wolves scattered down the road. It's also into the brush, into the woods. We chased after them, sure, but no damn use. They were all faster, more nimble. Street life had taught them a thing or two. You could see them. We stopped, all winded and pissed off. My rib was aching. Someone got a shiner. Someone else got a bloody nose. We looked at each other and just shut up. Ashamed, supposed to be Cossacks, yet got beat up by goddamn bums. Brother times ain't what they used to be, and Cossacks look like they ain't what they used to be either. Yeah. Soon Rossii prepares to tour the country. The leader of the LDPR party is undoubtedly one of the most eccentric politicians in modern Russia. He enjoys popular love due to his unexpected and controversial antics during meetings of the State Duma or during his participation in various Telegram programs. Rossii does not disdain going to use a variety and populist methods to his political career. One of these methods is going out to the people, during which he meets ordinary people across the country, speaks to a wide audience, and listens to citizens' opinions on the current political situation. Recently, the politicians announced that he planned to visit many Russian cities where he meet his supporters and hold small press conferences at each. Although the LDPR remains only the third most popular party, and this event will help it significantly strengthen its position to gain attention and public support. Well, his vigor is admirable. pulled on the carpets. When Vitaly was called in to see the boss, he accepted anything. After all, you could do your job perfectly and stand up be guilty of something. As an LVPR activist, Vitaly wasn't supposed to feel fear, so he was just a little nervous, and it turns out for good reason. News has reached me that your activities in your free time. The department head frowned. I understand everything. Youthful exuberance. The blood demands justice. I did stupid things myself once. But understand this. Your activities in the LVPR activism, don't deny it. The boss waved dismissively when his opponent tried to say something. Cast a shadow on us all. Plus, this is a serious outfit, and you're embarrassing us with your yellow and blue ribbon in it. And like, this is Ukraine. We need serious people like here. We don't need any other. When the department head fixed glazed on Vitaly, there wasn't a trace of good-naturedness in his eye he's shown before. When he spoke again, he asked one question. We understand each other, right? Me with Zeranovsky. Rossii has been called a clown in Russian politics, yet cannot be further than the truth. He knows how to grow his brand and party, as his knowledge of geopolitics and inner political games cannot be overstated. This is why our great president wanted to talk with him about the future of his party, and we hoped to be heard. No. My original plan. Get you and expand government framework, then that. It's essentially LDPRs, but just turn LDPR to CPRF and boom, got it. Oh, Apple! At the noon, the capital of Russia, the glorious city of Moscow was bursting to life again. 3 million people lived and worked. In all respects, dimensions. It is absolutely annoying for everyone except those gathered in Gannetsky Square, near one of the crossings of the territory of the Moscow metro. For what has happened resembles some kind of rally. In fact, it was a red flag poster. Where visible here, there are someone speaking with a megaphone. When police officers arrive on the scene, find out the reasons for what's happening, it turns out the problem was attracting the attention of the citizen gathered here was renaming the name of the Voikovskaya metro station, named after the revolutionary Pyotr Lazarovich Voikov. Oh, that's what his last name actually was. To Nikolaevskaya metro. The police and other government representatives did not oppose any statement of the issue, but they also did not have any special results from all instances where those dissatisfied with the decision filed complaints, and a response came in the essence at which was the decision was made by local governments in connection with mass complaints of citizens. For some time, some of the pro-Soviet citizens expressed dissatisfaction. The essence and basically government of the situation was pandering to the sentiment of radical extremists, as well as the fact that such names are after all, part of the history of Russia and destruction of unity it was rule. Where are you going? Damn, that was fast. Bit comes out every week. You wait for it, now gone. The rest of LVPR politicians caused controversy. Not long ago, a member of the Liberal Democratic Party has been taken into custody enforcement for misdirection from the side. Party leader Vladimir Zeranovsky spoke from the rostrum of the State Duma, saying that the investigative committee has made corruption and police acting responsibly. Meanwhile, the deputies of the Commerce Party were referring out support for the arrest and opinion expressed by the internet was legally on detention as well as claims of responsibility for applying falsely. Falsified, this event did not have serious consequences, but it definitely dealt a blow to reputation. We should be more careful next time. Election without the KPRF, the Sevastopol City Election Commission has refused to register Roman Kyryashko, leader of the KPRF faction in Sevastopol's Legislative Assembly, as a candidate for governor of the hero city. Kyryashko submitted signatures from the 9 municipal deputies representing 6 municipal districts. However, according to current laws, to overcome the municipal filler, candidates must collect signatures on 9 deputies representing 8 districts. The situation arose after the beginning of June. Deputies from the United Russia faction in 2 of the Sevastopol's largest municipal council district, Gagarin and Lenin, prematurely resigned from their powers. Following this, by the decision of the prosecutor's office, the Gagarin and Lenin municipal councils of the second convention were deemed illegitimate, and the court's decision themselves were ordered to be immediately enforced. From Kyryashko, actual number of functioning councils, for which 8 remained, meaning the collection of signatures in 6 districts will be sufficient. However, representative of the Sevastopol Electoral Commission, Lydia Basova, stated that the Electoral Commission considered it necessary to rely on the numbers of municipal district councils operating at the time of the announcement of the start of the electoral campaign. This is our city. Its fine government framework. Our grip on the state may easy delays around and do nothing. However, our president thinks that we should strengthen our administration by getting new connections and alliances within our system already. The All-Russian People's Front already established a system. All we need to do is expand it. Seconds. Reports on the American situation. Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, having compiled an analysis of the necessary information of the SVR is prepared to report the political situation is approaching critical junction. The country establishment is factoring amidst the fierce battles between 2 parties and their respective leaders. Amidst the fierce battling, there's notably Donald J. Trump. The economic downturn following the oil crisis has caused many Americans to lose faith in the system, leading Alexa stop, leading to proliferation of various extremist moves across the political spectrum, including communist, hardline fascists, and even satanic cults. The upcoming November election is anticipated to be a tipping point, with some experts predicting the potential outbreak of an open civil conflict among the factions of American society. Regardless of the outcomes, it's evident that the America is no longer capable of remaining in its position as a whole global supplier as it once held. They retreat into isolationism and as the best case scenario. For the Russian Federation, the situation presents both an opportunity and a significant risk. It is crucial to remember that Europe may swiftly move to further detail, move to fill the void left by the United States as the leader of the globalist order. For further details, please refer to enclosed documents validating all of the current information. I remain in dedicated serving Russia. Sergei Evgenovich Nashukhin. Outstanding work. Alright, end the video. Let's just take Tripoli first. Go on, take Tripoli first then. Yeah, I like reading these out. Screw you. Arctic flood. On May 29th, the environmental emergency happened in the town of Nolinsk. Around 17,500 tons of crude oil from the Nolinsk energy plant number 3 energy flooded the Dolyakan and Abernaya rivers, causing the largest explosion in the history of Arctic history region. The Federal Emergency Situation Ministry. I can't speak today. The Federal Emergency Situation Ministry and the President Vladimir Putin has been declared a state of emergency in the Norilsk region, and the claim is expected to happen soon in accordance with Russian law. Based on the conclusion of the investigation started by the investigative committee, someone has been expected to pay ecological damage caused by someone will be most likely being Norilsk Nickel, the company that owned the power plant in which disaster happened. However, that was not enough for the Russian opposition. Soon after, the Brigadier Navalny and his FBK team released a 15-minute-long analyst video accusing the head of Rospirodonadzor, Svetlana Radionova, of corruption, claiming that she flew a private jet to the site of Norilsk, ignoring the impact of the generator. Furthermore, Navalny tried to rebuke of income records with that shows modest salaries, single Russian apartment, contracting with the claims of Renault and family multiple apartments in Moscow, valuing at a total of 700 million rubles, and with real estate pieces in France worth 500,000 euros. Despite this allegation, the allegations do not stop here, with now an FBK accusing the Russian government and the Federal Emergency Situation Ministry of attempting to cover up the incident and reduce the impact as after the allegedly a Rospirodonov inspector was denied access to the disaster site, stating that the problem reflected the level of corruption in Russian institutions, with Navalny urging for the harder accountability, public demonstrations against the government, and more efficient legal oversight. But this, despite the magnitude of the disaster, the video was not able to breach mainstream online algorithms and mostly circulated amongst niche opposition circles and public demonstrations, following the similar trend of non-existence. However, the real damage may be long-term. However, in conclusion, this disaster, it seems like the time to plunge that FK tried to do to Kremlin was underwhelming. While bureaucrats debate reform, formate an Arctic Circle. Come on, just take triple. Jesus Christ, how many fucking volunteers? Yeah, very sad. Anyway, very sad. Sorry for my life saying fuck you. King of Sarah Trucks. Thank you. Those who do not love me deserve not to live. Or do not deserve to live. Muammar al-Gaddafi. To the victor goes the spoils. And we gain a lot of other things. Victory in Libya, which will last till December. Well, another one in Saudi Arabia will pop off. I'm pretty sure I should make all of these 1 hour long. Oh, with that, I call this video due. So, thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. Hope to see you again. This is Matt signing off. Good day, goodbye. And I hope to see you next time. Goodbye. There will be more to come.